Parents of high schoolers with learning differences. In this 5-minute video, I'm going to show you how to determine the test score on the ACT or the SAT that your high schooler needs to apply to all the schools on their list with confidence. I use a worksheet with my clients when I sit down and walk them through it with their families. So you're going to need a pen and paper, or you can use notes on your phone or something. If you want the worksheet that I use, which is what I'm going to be using in this video, I'm happy to send that to you. Just put a comment down below saying that you want it, and I'll send it over via Messenger so you can follow along if that's something you want to do. If you don't know who I am, my name is Jonah Fishel and I run Next Step Prep. I've helped hundreds of students, high schoolers with learning differences, get test scores that they didn't think were possible. And I do that because I convince them first that it is possible and they can do it, and then I show them how to do it. So at the end of this video, you're going to know how to get this number, the goal score on the SAT or the ACT for your high schooler. So here's how it works. There's 3 things we need. Number 1 is you're going to need the list of schools that your kid's going to apply to. I can't go over how to generate that list in this video, or it would be super long. So I'm hoping that you already have that list, or you've been thinking about this at least a little bit for a while, or your child has, and so you know the schools that you want them to apply to. So you're just going to write those down, and that's all we need. The second thing is the thing that most people get wrong. You're going to go to Google, because that's an easy place to find this information. You're going to Google median SAT score and then the school name, or median ACT score and then the school name. That's going to pull up data from a big data set called the Common Data Set, which you could just read directly if you wanted to, but it's kind of a pain. Just Google it and you're going to get that information. But it's important that you Google median and not average, because what we get when we look at the median is the interior 2 quartiles, so the middle 50% of students who are actually attending the school, what they got on the test. And that's a more valuable number than the test scores of people who applied to the school, for example, right? Because everyone who applies to Harvard, all their test scores are recorded. We don't want those. We want the test scores of people who are actually going to Harvard or going to UNC or going to UVA or whatever. So we use median SAT or ACT score and then the school name. So that's going to give you a range, not a single number. You're going to record that next to the school name. So we want a range here. And you're going to go through and do that for every school that you have. So you should have something that looks like this, where you have every school name and then you have the range after it. The last step is the easiest one. And this is the one where you take out the schools where your kid has already met the goal score, or you take out the schools that are way higher than the others. And this is what I mean. If your kid has already taken the ACT, for example, and scored a 22, if one of the schools on your list has a range of 19 to 21, you're good. We don't even need to think about it. So you can either cross it off or check it off like I do on the worksheet, and then you don't need to think about it for step 3. The other thing you're going to do is, this is a little controversial, but if there was a school on your list that is way higher than the others, like on my list, for example, UVA and William & Mary, 31, 34, something like that, they don't overlap with the other schools at all. And so if you have a couple schools on your list where the scores don't overlap because they're so much higher, we would call that an outlier. We would say, for now, don't worry about that. Cross it off and think about it later. For your initial SAT or ACT score, don't worry about that. Let's pick one that's more towards the range of most of the schools they're applying to, and don't worry about 1 or 2 outliers. So once you've done those 2 things, then we get to step 3, which is pick the lowest number that falls in all of the ranges or is above them. The lowest number that's in every range that you still have on the sheet or is above them. So for example, on my sheet, I have James Madison, 23 to 29, and I have Virginia Tech, 25 to 31. So the lowest number that I can pick would be 25, because that's in the range for the first school, and it's also in the range for the second school, but it's at the very bottom of that range. So that's going to be the lowest number I could pick that's in both of those ranges. And as I read through my list and I look at the other ranges, I'm going to adjust my number upwards by just 1 point at a time if I need to. On the SAT, I'm going to adjust my point up by 10 points at a time, because that goes from 800-ish to 1600, instead of going 12 to 36. So once you've done that and you've looked at every school range on your list, then you're going to have your number. So for me, it ended up being 25. And you can see here, if you follow along, that 25 is the number that, once I take out the outliers and the ones I've already met, that is the lowest number I could score and still be in all of the ranges. So that's why I chose 25 here. So I hope this was helpful. I hope you can sit down in just a couple minutes and figure out this number for your high schooler. If you want the worksheet, again, just let me know. Put a comment down below and I'm happy to send that to you.